Creator of the Witcher books once more, Mula from CD Projekt Red. Google announces Project Stream, and no, it has nothing to do with urination. Fortnite players targeted by malware, and the kickstarted Space Sandbox game Limit Theory halts development. That, plus a look at the game radar, latest patches, and what I've been recently playing, coming up on your dot plan for October the 7th, 2018. So, Walking Dead update, friends. Hopefully the last update for the foreseeable future, anyway, or at least for a little while. When we last left off, there was an uncertain future for The Walking Dead. But some good news for those waiting for it. It is going to be picked up by Skybound Games. Skybound Games, if this would... oops, hang on a second here. It will be picked up by Skybound Games. They have announced that they will be coming to some sort of an arrangement whereby they might be able to hire possibly some of the people who worked at Telltale Games on the Walking Dead, so they might be able to maybe contract them out and possibly bring them onto the project as well. And they are, if you're unfamiliar with them, they're Skybound Games is a division of Skybound Entertainment. Skybound Entertainment are the keepers of the Walking Dead comic series, which is actually, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, what the Telltale's Walking Dead was based on, was the comics, not on the AMC television show. So other than that, I went some digging into Skybound Games, and the only thing I've seen is that they have worked on, it appears that they've worked on the console releases of Slime Rancher and The Long Dark. So that's all I know about them. They're a relatively recently spun off division, like I said, of these Skybound Entertainment. So that's all I've got thus far on that. It sounds like it's going to be a good deal. I don't know exactly what that means for people who have had the are season pass holders of The Walking Dead. Will your season pass be honored? Will you get the final 2 episodes for free? Do you have to pay for them? Nobody knows yet, and nobody knows any kind of dates or anything like that. It sounds like it's just in the very initial preparation or initial push stages here. So that's all we know up to this point. So that is your Walking Dead / Telltale update, and probably be the last one, at least that I cover for a while. So if you're tired of hearing about it, then good for you, because I'm tired of talking about it, to be honest. But anyway, moving on to The Witcher. The author of the Witcher books, Andrzej Sapkowski, wants $16.1 million more for the rights that he sold to CD Projekt Red back in the early 2000s. From what we understand, from what he has said, first of all, the Polish copyright law gives him the ability to claim an Article 44 thing here, which says Article 44 may be invoked when the compensation remitted to the author is too low given the benefits obtained in association with the use of that author's work. There was a quote by the author here that was captured by Kotaku that said, "I was stupid enough to sell them the rights to the whole bunch," he told Eurogamer. "They offered me a percentage of their profits. I said, no, there will be no profit at all. Give me all my money right now, the whole amount. It was stupid. I was stupid enough to leave everything in their hands because I didn't believe in their success. Who could foresee their success? I couldn't." Essentially what happened, and this is what I've been able to gather from around the internet, CD Projekt had offered, CD Projekt Red that is, had offered to the author to give him, royalty payments for their use of The Witcher throughout their series here. And he really didn't think that it was going to be a thing. He's not, from what I understand, not a very big fan of actual video games and stuff. So he figured video games were just not going to be a thing, so he wanted all his money up front. And from what I've seen online, and I don't have any references to this, but from what I've seen online, he was paid something like $9,500 US for it, and because he just wanted a flat fee, and then that was it. And there is some dispute in the claim here as to whether or not he signed away all the rights to, you know, all of his books, or just for the rights to create The Witcher 1 versus The Witcher 2 and 3. There's some a little bit of a wrangling going on there, but basically, yeah, he's kind of like, I was dumb, and now I want more money. And the copyright law over in Poland allows for that kind of thing. Here in the States, you'd just be SOL at that point. You've signed your rights away, and that's that. But that's not the case in a lot of other countries, and so it seems like that's what he's on about. And CD Projekt Red, for their part, they've said that it's the company's will to maintain good relations with authors of works which have inspired CD Projekt Red's own creations. Consequently, the board will go to great lengths to ensure amicable resolution of this dispute. However, any such resolution must be respectful of previously expressed intents of both parties as well as existing contracts. So it sounds like they really want to stay on the guy's good side, because again, they are using his work and all that stuff, and of course, you know, staying on the author's good side would allow them to continue to probably use that work without too much of a problem later on if they wanted to make more titles in the Witcher series. I mean, we know that there's more. We've got the Witcher Thronebreaker coming out now, and I'm sure they're going to have even more coming forward, even though we know they're working on Cyberpunk 2077. But you know, there's still going to be more, probably more Witcher themed things, and we still have Gwent going on and all that stuff. So it behooves them to stay in the good graces of this author, and it sounds like they want to. So it's just a matter of, I guess, a lot of legal wrangling now. There was a lot of publicity around it, and it's a lot of trying to get the two sides to come to the negotiating table, and it's all this like, we're going to play the media against you, that kind of thing. That's what it really feels like right now. It's more like a we're just going to say these things publicly to try to maybe tarnish your reputation, or at least make it feel like you want to resolve this quietly. And you know, that's all that this feels like. It just feels like a play to try to get favorable terms on the author's side and all that stuff, and you know, trying to use the whole, you know, you don't want to look bad in front of your customers kind of thing. But beyond that, you know, I don't really have much of a horse in this thing. I think it's good that they CD Projekt wants to pay their just dues to the authors, because it is a very rich world that they made out of it. I do wonder, though, I mean, having not read the novels and stuff, and there is an argument to be made that had there not been the Witcher series of video games, the novels might not have ever been known outside of Poland. But I do wonder how much of this is honestly original work, based on an original work. How do you even specify that? There's a certain point, at least in the United States, there's a certain point when you take an original work and you change it and flesh it out enough that it becomes almost an original in its own right. That doesn't necessarily absolve you of copyright and all that stuff, but it does sort of, like we have fair use and all that stuff, where, you know, we've got parody and all that stuff. This is not necessarily a parody. In fact, it's probably not a parody at all. But it's I wonder how much, if this had been a dispute, you know, in the, well, I mean, if this had been a dispute in the United States, there would be no dispute. But I'm wondering how much this author is actually due, right? Because he's asking for 16.1 million, which seems a bit high. Not knowing exactly how much The Witcher has made in terms of money, because I'm thinking, like, how much did they take from the books, and how much did they do on their own? Because it seems to me like there had to have been a lot of writing that the CD Projekt Red writers have done to adapt this to a storytelling, to the storytelling medium of gaming. Like, I mean, you know, making the quests and doing all this third-party quests, and like it seems to me like they took the setting and they took the characters, but then everything else is sort of an original story based on those characters. I would think. I don't know, having not read the novels. I don't know how close they are or far away they are from those things. So I kind of, not disputing the rights of the author to charge royalties. I'm more disputing the amount of those things, and I'm sure that's something that they'll probably debate there. So it's kind of an interesting little conundrum, little thought experiment anyway. So that is what we have thus far on The Witcher, as far as the legal stuff there. I'll always leave references in the description, so you can go read the articles on it and whatnot that I've used to try to determine what's going on here. Next up on our list is Project Stream. This is a new project being spun up by Google, and they are using the new Assassin's Creed game. Is it Origins? Is it what is it? Omega? I forget the subtitle of it. There's so many freaking subtitles of Assassin's Creed games. I can't keep them all in my brain here. But they're using a new Assassin's Creed game to test out their streaming service, whereby the game itself is running on the Google supercomputers and is streaming down through via the Chrome browser to the user's computer, and the user can then go and play the game. It's much like services like OnLive were trying to do. Was Gamefly trying to do something like that? I know OnLive was trying to do something like that. I don't remember if Gamefly had streaming. I feel like they had streaming of like old games, but I don't remember offhand, and they're all well and truly defunct anyway, so it doesn't really matter if they did or not, because it didn't work out so well. I know that Nvidia has a service as well. What is it? I don't remember the name of it now. It's like Nvidia Gear or something. I forget exactly what they call it. But they have a streaming service. This is clearly aimed sort of at that. The big problems that you're trying to solve with this, though, you might be thinking, well, what's the big deal with this? Well, streaming the actual video is not necessarily a problem. It's keeping all the inputs in sync enough that you can really control your characters. Right now, it's I mean, that's sort of the big deal, right? Like, even Mixer is trying their hand at this now with you can take control of the controller, the streamer's controller, and play around with it and stuff. It's kind of an interesting little toy, but the lag is always the biggest problem. Is can you actually do this with the minimum amount of lag? And for their test, they're asking people to who had 25 megabits per second or higher internet streaming to do it. So it sounds like there is quite a lot of bandwidth that they want to make sure you have available in order for them to do a good test of it. I assume they'll use that test to try to figure out if they can make it for people who have worse internet, like our poor Comcast people out there who have data caps and all that stuff. So I don't know yet how that's gonna work. Even in their test video here that I've been playing, you can kind of see some hitches here and there where their character, especially in a high when they start to get into combat towards the end of the video here, it seemed like their character was hitching a little bit, and a little bit of lag here, a little bit of input lag. So I suspect that they're even then are having some problems with it. But we won't know until someone's had a good old gotten into test and talked about what's happened and how it's working out. This obviously is the reason this kind of thing makes so much sense is because when you think about it, being able to stream all the latest games that are PC based and not have to have a console to do it, you can just kind of sign up for a service and stream it right to your browser, really levels out the playing field a lot. It opens up your games that otherwise people would not be able to enjoy because they don't have good enough computers, to a lot more people. Plus it also brings it to the realm of being sort of a subscription-based thing. So, maybe you don't have $60 to spend every 2 months when another AAA title comes out, but you could spend maybe $20 a month and get access to a whole library of them and be able to play them at your own leisure and not have to put out for hardware all the time and upgrades and all that stuff, and not have to worry about, hey, is my game going to actually play? Is it going to be usable to me, and those things, and it's always patched and all that stuff. So there's a lot of positives to this. That's why this has always been sort of the holy grail, I guess, of game companies, is to be able to do something like this, because now you've leveled the playing field. So that's why this is kind of exciting, but at the same time, it's I would hold my breath a bit, because it's a hell of a technical hurdle to kind of roll over, and to especially in the Chrome browser and all that stuff. So we'll see how this rolls. We'll see how it works. But it's an interesting little side project. Of course, it is Google, which means that prepare for the side project to never yield any results. Or prepare for it to be in beta for 10 years, and then they just say, nah, we don't want to do this anymore, and just abandon it. So let's always keep a heavy dose of salts to wean out the bad taste as it comes down the pike. But that's what we have so far on the Project Stream information. Next up, we have Fortnite. There has been a spat of malware targeting Fortnite players, particularly those who are looking for the free V-Bucks, which are the in-game currency to buy skins and whatnot, or for those who are, trying to be cheaty McCheatersons and find aimbots and all that stuff. Well, you're going to have some problems if you're not careful. Malwarebytes is a well-known virus scanner company. Recently had an article talking about how Fortnite players are being targeted specifically, trying to get them to download an infected exe under the auspices of it being a cheating thing or giving them free V-Bucks. And this exe does a post out to the Russian Federation, and then starts to download a payload, which then looks on your computer and tries to steal your Steam account, any Bitcoin wallets you happen to have, really browser session information. So if you happen to be doing some banking and all that stuff, and it looks in your browser and says, oh, I can now access your bank account and all those things. So yeah, be careful. Be very careful. And also, to the malware writers out there, this thing posts out to a PHP file. Like, seriously, could you, like, do the world a favor and learn something useful with your time? Like, hey, get rid of PHP, and, like, I would even accept it if you did a Python script or something. You know, just, like, stop being a... if you're gonna be nefarious, for the love of God, learn something more than PHP. Is all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I can't stop you from being nefarious, but I can at least discourage you from using an outdated language, scripting language that no one in their right mind should ever have any knowledge in or use ever for any purposes whatsoever. Except no alternatives. Or accept all alternatives, as the case may be. Just you know, get some actual programming knowledge is what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying right there. But yeah, so if you are a Fortnite player and you know, you see something that's too good to be true, it probably is, as the old saying goes. Remember, it's the internet. People are trying to take advantage of you, and always take everything, always be skeptical about everything. You know, anything that says free has probably got some strings to it. That's always been the case and always will be the case. And for the love of God, use some virus scanners. You know, run your virus scan, back up your stuff, you know, have some measure of security. You know, don't be, you know, don't have 20,000 browser toolbars and all that stuff. Just, you know, be reasonable. Protect yourself. Log out of things you're not in and all that stuff, and have backups and all that and all those fun things. So, anywho, that is my rant on the Fortnite stuff. Moving along, we have, if I can bring up the thing here. Moving along, we're talking about a limit theory. It is a kickstarted sci-fi sandbox game that was being developed by one man, and it's been in development for about 6 years. The Kickstarter was back in, I believe, 2012. And they raised something like $187,000 or something like that. And it looks pretty spectacular. The footage I'm actually showing you is from their YouTube channel, and it was from 2014. And it looked this beautiful back in 2014. But the reason they're in the news is they recently put a Kickstarter post up that says that the developer, that is, put a Kickstarter post up that says that they can no longer continue development on the game. They've gone through all the funding that they had, and it also sounds like funding that they provided himself, and he just no longer has the will to continue working on the game, which is real sad because it looks like it's a very beautiful game. It looks like a freelancer type game. I mean, it's fantastic. But what he's going to do is actually release the source code. Hasn't specified when right now, but it's just soon that they're going to release the source code, and then let anybody who wants to deal with the source code or look at the engine and all that stuff to be able to do so. So at least there's some salvaging of it. I imagine there will be a community possibly that spins up around it to take a look at it and see what they can do with it. It sounds like it was in, it either had its own custom engine or it was in Unity. I couldn't quite figure out what, because it sounded like there was a big rewrite that happened a few years ago. So I don't know if it's continued to be in Unity or if it was written in its own custom engine. But the devs seem to be very happy, very proud of the engine that it was in. Not so much of the fact that there's an actual game there to be played. So, I mean, to me, it sounded like what it really needed was someone to just come in and make an actual game out of it. I mean, you can see how beautiful the shaders are and everything in this game. It just looks fantastic. But it sounds like a lot of time was spent on aesthetics and not a lot of time on actually, you know, doing the kind of boring stuff like actually making objectives and space combat and all that stuff. So hopefully someone can you know, hopefully the community can come together and rescue this from the trash bin, because it seems to me like it would be a really fantastic looking game. I mean, I get Freelancer vibes all the way through. I mean, they're showing you know, space lanes here that you can fly through, and how these space lanes work, and how they determine that you can fly through them at the same time as other ships coming the other way without colliding with them, and all that fun stuff. So there was a lot of work put in this. It's 6 years of development put into it, so it's sad to see it not be able to see the light of day as it was meant to be. But I am happy and, you know, enthused that at least the source code will be out there, so anybody can kind of look at it and say, all right, either work on it themselves or use what was there for their own projects and whatnot. We'll have to see what kind of license he puts on it, if it's going to be just, you know, put out to the community, or, you know, it's going to be like a BSD thing where it's just like, just use it for whatever you want, or if it's going to be a little bit more restrictive license. Don't really know, but it will be something interesting to grok, I think, as it comes out. So it's a real shame. It's a real shame. The dev has, you know, they put a lot of you know, poured out their soul into this final update here, talking about how this has affected them, and I can see, you know, where they're coming from. It's doing anything for 6 years that's a passion project can be extremely difficult. It's just, it takes a level of stamina that most people can't maintain, at least by themselves, unless you have somebody else to help you out. You look at a lot of fan projects, like if I look at Stage 9, for instance, and how long that took, or you look at something that was completed, like Wing Commander Saga, which I believe was like 11 years that was in development, and then they finally released a full game on that, and that was a fan project. Like, there were multiple people working on that, and they managed to get that thing really solid and really cool and really nice after 11 years of development. And it's that level of, you know, it's easy to maintain passion, and it's easy to maintain, you know, some level of focus. It's really hard to do all that over a long period of time. You know, you see a lot of people who have like, oh, I can do this, I can really run at this, I can make this happen, and they get kind of beat down over the years, right? It's not a matter of how much passion you have, it's can you withstand years and years of little progress until finally the snowball starts rolling downhill and things start really coming together, because it does take a while before you start to really make progress on things. There's a lot of little stuff, and eventually it all adds up, but it just takes forever and a day, and it's all about stamina at that point. Do you have the stamina to withstand the bumps in the road, to get there? And it's difficult. It's not easy, especially if you're doing it by yourself. You know, it's always one of these things where you just kind of have to, maybe at some point you have to enlist someone else's help to help you be to stay on target and stay on track and really keep the thing going, keep the spirit alive, as it were. So you know, I it's one of the things that has prevented me from doing stuff, is knowing that how many years it's going to take versus whether or not I can maintain the focus necessary over those years. I've wanted for years, I've wanted to remake the Star Crusader game. Like, I've wanted to just go in and remake it for Windows and DirectX and all that stuff, and just go ham on it and rewrite the story to make it a little bit more interesting and all that stuff. And the problem is, I'm a programmer and that's it. I don't do music. I don't know how to do art or anything like that. So those are two really huge limiting factors, number one. And number two, it will take years to do that. And I'm so busy as it is, it would take many, many years to do it because how busy I am. And trying to maintain focus, trying to maintain the passion for it is just, as much as I love the Star Crusader series, I don't think I have it in me to do that for over a 6-year or 10-year or 20-year period. You know, it's just at some point I would just sort of give up. And I've done that a lot I've had a lot of side projects where I'm like, oh, I'm going to start coding this thing, and then it kind of sits by the wayside, and the next week I'll look at it and go, oh, I'll code a little bit more, and then, you know, 3 months later I'm like, I don't really feel like dealing with it, and 6 months later I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to do it now either. You know, it just kind of, things just fall out. I have a lot of started projects and nothing that's in any kind of state that would be coherent, and it's a shame to see that happen, but it happens a lot. For every good idea, for every good concept, there's like 10 more that just couldn't see the light of day because they just couldn't be realized with the tools that the mental tools that person had at their stake. So it's sad to see this project get canceled, but hopefully something good will come out of it. We have a bunch of news articles coming up of a lot of other fan-made projects that have been going on for years. So this is going to be kind of a theme on today's episode.
What's the matter with this thing? What's all that churning and bubbling? You call that a radar screen?
No, sir. We call it Mr. Coffee. Care for some?
Yes! I always have coffee when I watch radar. You know that.
Of course I do, sir.
Everybody knows that.
Of course we do, sir!
Now that I have my coffee, I'm ready to watch radar. Where is it?
Right here, sir.
All right, first up on the gaming radar is Rimworld. Rimworld 1.0 is coming October the 17th. That is the full release of the game. Will be coming October 17th. This has been in development for many years, like 5 years? Question mark. It's been a while. It's been in development for quite a while. Not too much to say on it other than based on their post, it says that it will be very, very similar to the last beta that went out, beta 19, except it's got lots and lots of bug patches. The only new thing that they've introduced is that there's going to be a new food restriction system that allows you to determine what your colonists and prisoners are allowed to eat. But beyond that, everything else is about the same other than bug fixes. They do mention, though, if you're running just a vanilla game, you'll be fine. If you're running a modded game, there is a few instructions that they give on how to maintain your mods. It looked like mostly it was copying them over from one folder to another, and backing them up and whatnot. So prior to getting the upgrade, you might want to back up. You might want to follow their instructions on their blog. I've left a link down in the references, so you can take a look at it. But it's just a few steps. It seemed like it was just copying mods over to make sure that they are preserved and that they continue to run. But it doesn't sound like there's anything particularly game breaking that would prevent any of your mods that are currently running from continuing to run. So that all is good news, I'd say. So those of you who love and enjoy Rimworld, you're going to finally have your full release coming. They did mention that they're going to be doing more stuff later, post-release, more bug fixes and stuff, but not too much news as to what additionally is coming. They haven't committed to anything else, but they have not run out of ideas, is what they were basically saying there. So fantastic on that, fan-freaking-tastic. Next on our list is the Elder Scrolls, in this case, the Skywind project. For those unfamiliar, Skywind, there's two projects going on, Skywind and Skyblivion. Skyblivion is the one that I'm more interested in, but Skywind, the idea behind these projects is that they are taking older Elder Scrolls games and making them work in the Skyrim engine. So Skywind is taking a Morrowind and making it work in the Skyrim engine, which involves redoing a lot of the 3D art and all that stuff, and importing the maps and stuff and the quests and everything. Skyblivion is doing the same thing for the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, which is the one I'm more interested in because I loved Oblivion. I never played Morrowind, and honestly, I've played the Morrowind region in Elder Scrolls Online, and is all I can say. That I know that's sacrilege, but I am so sick of not being able to traverse the mountain ranges and everything else because it's just such a hard region to move through. But they've done quite a lot here. It's looking at the video that they released just recently, the trailer for it. It's they've got quite a lot of art there. No word on what or when they'll be releasing anything. It's this seems like more of just a call for more help. It looks like they're looking for a lot more 3D artists to come in and help them do things. It doesn't seem like the project's at a point where they could release it because they don't have enough 3D assets finished yet for it. So it seems more like we're just kind of putting this back in everybody's mindset and hoping to get some more volunteers to help out. So if you're interested, you should head on over to the tesrenewal.com site, and where they're calling for help for this and for Skyblivion. But beyond that, it's looking quite nice. It's quite nice indeed. So just a little update on that little fan-made project. The next thing on our list, which has been a bit of a pain, is Indiana Jones and the Infernal Machine. It's an old game. I believe it was back in the 90s, I believe, or late 90s. Back in the era of Tomb Raider 1, pretty much, and it's got, I think it uses the same engine as Tomb Raider 1, if I'm not mistaken. It's a 3D, the only Indiana Jones 3D adventure that I'm aware of. Most of the other Indiana Jones games were like the 2D point and clicks. I tried to actually capture some footage of this, but it was very resistant, and I ran out of time to do it the proper way. So I'm just showing you some screenshots of it because that's all I got. But it is available on GOG. It was, I believe, $6 US for me on GOG. I did have a little bit of a problem on Windows 10. I had to run the troubleshooter and set it to run as administrator. Once it ran as administrator, it seemed to work okay. Otherwise, it crashes and burns pretty hardcore. Also, the settings menu, it starts out with a little launcher, and you can set your graphics settings and stuff. That doesn't seem to work. It always kept going back to 640 by 480. It turns out, I looked, there is a registry key. So you go under, I think it's HKey, current user, software, and then you'll find Indiana Jones under there somewhere. if you look in there, the settings are in there for the width and the height. You can set those to 1920 by 1080 if you have a 1080 monitor, if that's what you want, and then it will set correctly there. But if you do it from the launcher, for some reason it wasn't retaining it. And I don't know if that's because when I tried it, I wasn't running it as an administrator or what have you. But both of those things, when you do both of those things, it seemed to work okay. Trying to capture video, good luck. I tried to capture video from OBS and it just crashes when you get in there because of the hooks. More than likely, I would have to capture it on my other computer. So it's that's where you stand on that. So just be forewarned, if you're using Windows 10 for it, you might have to jump through a few hoops. That's not unheard of for things released on GOG. It's a shame that you still kind of have to have some problems. You buy something, it doesn't quite work out of the box, but it is the nature of the beast. They're trying to make these old things work, and I think their baseline seems to be Windows 7 having it work, and then those of us who are on Windows 10 kind of have to jump through a few hoops to make this go. But there you go. It is now. This is, I believe, the first time it's available digitally on any kind of digital store. So if you liked Indiana Jones and the Infernal Machine, or you never heard of it, you never played it before, but you like the original, say, Tomb Raider 1, this is very similar apparently. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it actually visits some of the same sites as Tomb Raider 1. If I'm not entirely off base there. So it's kind of interesting to see the difference between one art director and another art director, how that goes. But there we go on that. Next up on the radar, in fact the last thing on our radar for today, is the Priority Earth mod overhaul, fan-made overhaul of Mass Effect 3. So anyone who knows anything about Mass Effect knows that Mass Effect 3 was pretty good. In fact, the whole Mass Effect series was really good, except the very end of Mass Effect 3 was terrible. Quite terrible. The culmination of all of your choices throughout the entire series were basically tossed out, and you were given a choice as to what color you wanted the ending to be. Did you want blue? Did you want green? Did you want red? And that was about it. Or you could choose not to do anything at all and get the worst ending possible. In an effort to fix that, a bunch of fans have gotten together and have created this Priority Earth mod. It aims to improve upon Mass Effect 3's final mission as much as technically possible. So they're fixing bugs, restoring cut content from the game, and also recording brand new dialogue and new cutscenes into the level to try to fix it up to make it a little bit more, I don't know, satisfying to those who have, are big fans of the series. So it's kind of an interesting thing to take a look at. I will leave links. There's an article on PC Games N that talks about it. I'll leave that there. I don't have an actual link to the mod itself. It sounds like it's going to go up. I believe it's going to go up on Nexus Mods, if I'm not mistaken. It's not up there now because there is a dispute on the audio, I believe, or the music. I'm not. I might be getting this confused with another one, but I think that's the only reason it's not there now. But it sounds like they're getting resolved on that. So you might want to just keep your ear to the ground, your eyes peeled on the various modding sites to see if and when this comes out. If you're looking for a better, different take on the Mass Effect 3 ending.
Radio call for you, Captain. Some guy named Graham and Ham.
Put it on the overhead.
Just a minute, sir. Go ahead, sir.
All right, first up on the patches here. I've got the wrong thing going here. First up On the patch list for this week, we have the game called The Away Team. They are getting a new DLC coming out, new patch coming October 22nd, a new update I should say, coming October 22nd, that called The Lost Exodus, which polishes and builds upon the core of the Away Team game. Away Team is a choose-your-own-adventure kind of style thing. Lots of dialogue, lots of movement. It's pixel art. You're seeing a video of it right now on my screen. But it brings the new Lost Exodus update. Brings with it more story. 120,000 words of story to be fair, and there's a lot of text in this game. Sector exploration has been enhanced. There's a new crew role experience system, a new unlockable character, 50 memento items for crew members to collect, a new character editor, some sprite rendering improvements, and some clearer text, which I will tell you, having read some of the text in the game, the text is, whatever font they used is not very good. It's very, it can be really hard on the eyes after like 5 to 10 minutes of reading. So it's good that they're going to improve the text a bit, because it is a little rough shot. Also, in addition to all that, the base price of the game is going to change. Right now, I believe the game is you can get it on Steam for $2. Once this release comes out on the 22nd, they're going to up it to $8. So it might, if you're even remotely passively interested in this, you might want to pick it up for $2 now before the update hits on the 22nd of October. Just bear all that in mind as you look around things. Let's see, next on my list is No Man's Sky is getting a brand new 1.63 update. Why did that reset? Oh well. You'll have to excuse the video. It's going to be pretty static for a while. I had it set all up and then it decided to restart from the beginning. But anyway, No Man's Sky 1.63 update brings with it some new exocraft, namely motorcycles. So you get to cruise around planet surfaces using your good old choppers. And with that comes a geobay. They're calling it the Pilgrim is the name of the chopper. They're calling it the Pilgrim. It will be available in the Blueprint Analyzer for the geobay for it will be available in the Blueprint Analyzer. Existing exocraft have been tweaked. The multiplayer racing has been fixed. Inventory sizes have been increased, and summoning of your exo vehicles has been improved. You now only have to build a geobay once, and once you build it once, all of your exocraft can be summoned with unlimited range on any planets that you've constructed a new exocraft summoning station on. So there you go. You can take them with you wherever you want to go. You can go off-roading wherever you feel the need to do so now. You can also customize the exocraft fleet with different colors and decals and flame effects and all that stuff. So fantastic all around. I need to get back into No Man's Sky because they keep doing some really good stuff now. And the only problem I've had with No Man's Sky is it takes forever and a day just to make any kind of progress. Once you start making progress, things start to really kick in. But I'm trying to get to that point where I have my own freighter and stuff like that. You know, things that I really want to do and enjoy. And it's like pulling teeth sometimes to get there. You know, it takes hours upon hours to get to that point. Which, that's part of the game. I get it, and it's a sandbox game, and it's supposed to, you know, require some of that. But I feel like the early game is just so drawn out that you start to lose interest in it, and then you lose interest in it right before you get to the stuff that's really cool. So that said, I do need to jump back into it again because I really want to try out some of this stuff. So that's where we stand on No Man's Sky as the video just starts to fire up again. I don't know why that reset back to the beginning. I tested all this stuff before I started and it still managed to reset back to the beginning. Anyway, next one on our list. Oh, Bomber Crew reset to the beginning as well too, didn't it? Crap. Anyway, the next one on our list is Bomber Crew. Bomber Crew is a sort of it's almost an FTL-like game almost, where you take control of a bomber crew and you have a bunch of point-and-click things to do, like taking on enemies and all that stuff. It's a really interesting concept game, and like I said, it's kind of FTL-like, where you're managing your crew, and there's a lot of events happening around you, but you're also managing, where to go and what your guns do and all that stuff. So it's kind of a nice, cool little game, and it's getting a new DLC where it will be giving us the ability to use some U.S. Air Force bombers. Namely, on the 23rd of October, you will be getting, if you have the season pass, you'll get it all automatically. Otherwise, you'll have to pay a little extra for it. But you get a U.S. bomber, and it's you'll get some Mustang escort fighters for your bomber as well, which will be very nice. And American crews, you get 9 different American crews you can take. You can take control of a new theater of war, so you get to go hit North Africa. A new campaign, which is a whole North Africa campaign, and a new U.S. Air Force challenge mode as well. So you get all kinds of nice little bonuses and extras and things that are enhance the game further, so that it's available. I don't know what words I'm using here. So advance the game further so that you can use have even more reason to come back and play some more. If you've already played through the main campaign and are looking for some more, it sounds like you can get some more. So awesome and all that stuff. Now you're finally seeing some of the footage here, which is kind of cool. But yeah, that is the recent update to Bomber Crew. Next up on our list is Northgard, and this is an RTS game that takes place with Vikings, and you can go around and make your own Viking villages and long ships and all that stuff, and it's actually pretty neat. I haven't really gotten into it. The footage you're seeing is me actually doing it for the first time. It's been in my library for a long time, and I just never really got into it. There's a whole campaign that you can follow. You can do one-offs, single player games. I believe there's a multiplayer, but I don't remember. I don't remember if it was in the menu or not. But they're getting an expansion called Ragnarok, and with it brings a couple different things. A volcano now. Volcano is one of the new tiles introduced. It's a special tile that can't be tamed or colonized. It will erupt, hurling molten rocks across the map. Some of them will land in your territory. Well, then you'll have the chance to mine them. If you manage to completely mine these rocks within 4 months, you'll be fine. If you fail, rock golems will spawn from them and attack the clan members occupying the tile. Fun! Ragnarok also brings with it the Blood Moon, which is another random event. It increases the attack of all units outside of their territory by 50%. The Ancient Graveyard is also introduced. This is where you can assign 2 lore masters to study the graveyard. Once you've completed the graveyard study, 2 spectral warriors will join your army. They have very high defense and are not easily hit by projectiles. They'll be very useful to help you clear your surroundings, but because Vikings are highly suspicious, your clan's happiness will be reduced by 10 as long as they are in your territory. Fallen Sailors have also been added. This is an event that can occur at any time during the game. Basically, you got a bunch of ghost warriors. If you think about Lord of the Rings, the 3rd chapter, where they had all those warriors, ghost warriors, come rushing in and killing all the Nazgul or whatever they were. Yeah, the Spectral Warriors, or Fallen Sailors, I'm sorry, will be coming in, and yeah, they'll lower your tabbiness by 10 and will attack the crap out of you. There's been some updates to Kobolds, and there's also been a new neutral faction added to the game called the Milkafar? I guess that's how you pronounce it. They're dark elves that are particularly aggressive and strongly opposed to your presence on their continent. Every year they'll launch attacks against random players. Once they're in your territory, they'll start stealing your resources, and you'll be dealing with -5 food, wood, and crowns. So you're going to want to deal with those. Also, Ragnarok introduces a new experience point system that ties into the military. So you have different military paths. Every enemy defeated will grant you XP points. When reaching 500 military experience, you'll get to choose between 3 different military branches: the Tactician, the Guardian, or the Conqueror. And with that brings a whole bunch of bonuses and other things. So now you'll actually have like some very, very light RPG stuff in there. So that's kind of cool. Sounds awesome. And as always, I'll leave a link to the actual Steam update page that shows you where all the full change notes and everything that's going to be in it. So that sounds rather fantastic. Again, this is a game that I kind of overlooked because RTS games I've had it in my inventory for a while. I've wanted to play it. I have a hard time getting into RTS games because I really need to be in the right mood for them, and a lot of times I'm just not in the right mood. But this game, having played for the 10 minutes here on the video, I can see myself coming back to this at some point and really playing it right. So there we have that. Also, I'm not very good at RTS games. I never have been, because they require some thought processes that I can't ever seem to wrap my head around. unless they're the easiest thing in the world, like Final Theory, which is a video we'll see this week coming out. But anyway, that is the patches section, my friends.
He just kept talking in one long, incredibly unbroken sentence, moving from topic to topic so that no one had a chance to interrupt. It was really quite hypnotic.
Alright, first up on what I've been playing this week, what I played this past week, is a Gene Shift. If I can bring that up here. Gene Shift is I played the Battle Royale update that just was announced and just came out, and I had a lot of fun with it. It's a 2D top-down shooter, and it was a lot of fun playing the Battle Royale mode. I played mostly against bots. I think it was mostly bots that were there. But even then, I really enjoyed it. It brings something a little bit different to the whole Battle Royale genre. And I'm not just talking the 2D top-down stuff, because there are other Battle Royales that are 2D top-downs. But this brings like the idea that, when you die, you don't have to be knocked back into the lobby immediately. Like this just respawns you as a infected, and you can move anywhere on the map. You don't have to just be within the circle. And if you kill a player, then you become a player again, and that's rather fantastic, because it lends you to situations where you've basically snatched victory out of the jaws of defeat. I even had one match where I think there was 2 people left, and one of them was being attacked. I was a zombie. I ran in, stabbed the one guy, became a player, and that other person died, and I got the victory. So, I mean, that to me adds something to the Battle Royales that you don't really get right now. It's like, as it stands right now, Battle Royale is mostly, okay, we're just going to stand around and wait until there's only 2 or 3 people left, and then then we'll actually start moving to the center, and then it just becomes whoever gets lucky, the lucky shot, right? This one is, okay, each match is, there's a 20-minute overall match, but each round of the match is 2 minutes maximum. Usually they don't even last that long. It's 2 minutes maximum, and it's the first person to get to 50 points, and it's just a heck of a lot of fun. You're just constantly engaged. It's not a lot of like, I'm gonna sit around and wait, and I gotta, I'm gonna go gather this thing. I'm gonna be, that was the thing like that gets me with Fortnite and stuff like that. It's just a whole lot of sitting around and waiting, and then if you're really unlucky like I usually am, somebody snipes you, and all that waiting was for nothing, and now you're back to sitting in the lobby for more time. It's just a whole lot of just hurry up and wait in these battle royale games, and this one doesn't have any of that, and it's better for it. It's just fantastic, and I just wish more people were playing it, and I wasn't just constantly playing against bots. But it's a lot of fun, and I hope that this is an ushering in of an era when maybe others will take these concepts here and take the basic premise of battle royales and make it so that you're not constantly sitting around with nothing to do, or make it so that you have a second chance to do things, and this is really cool. I really like it. There's also you're also leveling up as you go, so you can grab, as you saw in the video there, you can grab skill points vials, and they give you a skill point, and you can add those skill points to your character. Those skill points reset after the entire match, but not after the rounds. So you carry them from one round to the next, and slowly, and as you go, it gives you a reason to explore the map, and then as you're going along, it makes you slightly more powerful. It gives you healing abilities and things like that. So there's a lot of thought that's been put into this, and it's really, I really like the way that they've taken the basic premise of the battle royale and made it so that it's far more interesting from a player perspective, especially from a player who is really bad at battle royales. You know what I mean? That they made this do what it does, and I really enjoyed my time with it. Really, really did. So next up on our list is OS Path. OS Path is a game that I played many moons ago, and it's mostly a command line game where you're typing in commands, but it's very much a puzzle game, and there's a lot of these puzzles that you have to kind of unwind. You're basically a robot on a spaceship, and you eventually gain access to a map where you can move your robot around, and the map has all kinds of clues on it, and you have to use those clues to unlock more commands, which then give you access to more of the ship, which then allow you to get more access to the ship and open up doors and all that stuff. It's really good from a puzzle perspective. It's just that my problem with it has always been that it's very difficult to grok some of those puzzles. It's very hard to know where to go next and what to do next. You get a lot of information, but none of it's helpful for the next step. You always have to try to figure out what the next step is supposed to be and what you're supposed to use for the next step. And there's a lot of that, just trying to unravel yourself, and it can make for puzzles that are just very difficult to try to figure out and try to see where they want you to go next. There's a lot of just kind of sitting there banging your head on the table trying to figure out what to do next and where you're supposed to go next and what piece of information you're missing and that kind of thing. So that can make for a very frustrating time, but at the same time, for people who love puzzle games, you'll be all over this. This is great. What happened recently is that they've changed the graphics in the game, so it's a lot more. There's been like a graphics overhaul. There's a zoom function now when you're on the map, so you can actually zoom in and see things better. So all good things. All good things have happened there. I kind of wish some of the puzzles have changed. There's been more puzzles added, There's more storyline added. Some of the, like I said, my only real complaint about is that some of the puzzles are almost feel like they're moon logic, but you know, you just kind of really, some of them really require stretching stretching your brain to try to figure out what to do next, and it's very easy to get stopped and just kind of rage quit on it, which is unfortunate, but I mean, tis the way things go in life. But yeah, I enjoy my time with it. I wish I could spend more time with it. It just gets too frustrating for me. I'm just not that good at puzzle games to be able to stick with them sometimes. But I enjoy it from that perspective. So the next up on our list is Astro Shift. This one kind of caught me by surprise. This is a 2D shoot 'em up in space, and it's very, very simple. It's also, I think it's only like 99 cents or something like that too. Very simple game, very simple concepts, some hand-drawn art and whatnot. You fly around and you shoot enemies, and then you unlock a warp gate, and then you move to the next system and you do the same thing. You know, there's the big draw to it is that there's 30 different ships that you can fly in, and how you fly in them is you actually eject yourself from one ship and you fly out in space to the other one, and you've only got a limited amount of oxygen, so you got to do it in very quickly, or if you get destroyed, you get ejected and you have to find another ship very quickly to get on there before you run out of oxygen. And each ship has different mechanics, different speeds, different weapons on it, and it's interesting. I mean, it just takes that concept and it just makes it its own. It's just like, this is the gimmick. This is the gimmick of the game, and it works rather well. It's a nice little time waster. I mean, there's not much more I can put on it than that, other than to say, you know, it's certainly not breaking any new ground, but at the same time, it's not bad either. It's just it's a nice little thing to jump into for 15-20 minutes and, you know, turn your brain off and just shoot a bunch of stuff. So very cool from that perspective. I was very surprised by that. It's been sitting in my library for a long time. I always thought it was just going to be some kind of background video I do on something, and end up being like, hey, I played a little bit, and I was like, this is not bad. This is not bad at all. Not bad at all. So there we go on that. The next thing that I played, or last thing this week that I played, was called Valkyrian Arc Hero School Story. And this one I was kind of on the fence about at first when I saw it, because it's got sort of that anime look to it, and it looked like it was going to be a visual novel through and through. But it turns out that once you get past the kind of visual novel-ish stuff in the beginning and whatnot, it turns out to be just a good old RPG with some management thrown in there. Essentially what happens is you become the head schoolmaster of this basically warrior school, and your students come in, you form them into parties, and you send them off on tasks, on quests, and you can either control them, or it's just a task that they just do on their own. And along the way, they bring back materials, which you then use to craft items, which then you can then give to your students so they can essentially do more output, do more damage to enemies as they go. You're building up the school as you go, so you can have more students, and you have facilities on the school to build up. You upgrade your armory and things. And the goal is to get your students leveled up to, they all start at level 1, and the goal is to get them to level 10 as quickly as possible, and to graduate one of them each quarter, I think it is. Yeah, each semester is to graduate one of them. And you want to graduate them at the highest level you can, because they eventually become protectors of the realm and all that stuff. And there's a story that flows from it, but I didn't quite get into the story yet because it takes a while to get there. There are two things that I kind of was a little bit off put. The combat is okay, but it's a lock-on combat, and there's no dodging. Basically, all your characters just stand there and get hit, and you just have to kind of tank them a little bit. You can switch between the various characters in the party, but they're all like there's no dodge mechanic. You just take every hit, and you just kind of have to manage that, which is kind of weird because it's got an action RPG feel to it, but it doesn't actually have the action part of it. The other thing is that there's no time speed up, and if you make the mistake that I made in the video of sending out two parties or sending out all your kids on errands that they do on their own, those things take forever. Like the simple tasks that just take, like I sat there for I think 20 minutes or something, and I was only at like 20% the tasks, and you can't fast forward the time, which is a big no-no. You know what I mean? And it's like if you make a mistake and accidentally send everybody out on a task like that, you should have a way of kind of rectifying that faster. So that's the one big problem I had with it, is really there should be a way to just kind of fast forward and get them back, or at least make those tasks, the initial tasks, a lot faster than they actually are, because they take quite a lot of time to run through. So those were the only real issues I had with it. But other than that, it seemed like a very interesting game, and I kind of want to come back to it at some point and play some more of it. It's lower on my list than most other things, but it's certainly not a bad game in any respect of that term. And the whole time management thing, I mean, that you would think would be a relatively easy patch to throw in there. So we'll see what happens. I'll keep an eye on it and see if it improves a bit over time here, based on the feedback that they've been getting. But that's that, friends. That brings us to the end of our episode here. The nice roundup of the week, ending the 7th of October. Just kind of pulling out all the news that I feel interested in talking about. There's a lot of news that I don't bother with, but it's there's reasons why I don't bother with some pieces of news. There's I try to keep the number of things that I have to do to the number of segments here relatively manageable. It takes me several hours. Even with the number of segments being what it is right now, it takes me several hours to actually go through and get all the information together, and mostly it's a lot of trying to get the videos together and get them working, and OBS is interesting when you have like 17 or 20 videos that you have set up ready to go. It can be a little bit slow on the uptake sometimes, and sometimes it has some interesting things that it does wrong, like resetting your videos back to the beginning, even though you told it to pause them and not reset back to the beginning. But it just we're working through all that. I hope though that everyone's had a great week gaming. I hope that you have a great week next week gaming. I will be keeping my ear to the ground as I always do. I've already got a few things on my list to play for next week. I've got a video already ready to go for Final Theory, which I talked about a little bit earlier, which is an RTS, baby's first RTS game, and I actually really enjoyed it a lot. I might revisit it on stream and finish my game up, because it's a long game. For as simple as it is, it's like I got 20 turns in, and that was an hour. So that should give you an idea. And there's not that much you can do each turn either, and yet it still took me an hour. So I do want to finish that game up and see how far I get, and if I even succeed at it, because that was certainly interesting to me. And I've got a few more things on my list. I might actually do a side quest video of Northgard now, since I've played a little bit of it, and I kind of understand. The only reason I didn't do it before is because I didn't really want to have the time to spend to understand it. But now that it's got new updates and stuff coming, maybe I'll jump in there. I'm not entirely sure yet. As far as streams go, I am definitely streaming Spider-Man. We're at 82% of the story done, the main story done. I've been doing things off camera, trying to get rid of some of the side missions. Like I want to get 100% on all of the different city blocks, and I'm still quite a distance away from that, but I'll be spending at least one stream just doing that stuff, doing the Sable outposts, and finish up the last prisoner outpost and all of the crimes. I've got one section of city already done. I've got others that are nearly done as far as the crimes are concerned. So I like to get all those resolved. I've hit level 50 off camera, but I haven't actually put the skill point in yet, the final skill point in yet. I wanted to do that on camera. So that'll be probably the first thing I do the next stream on Tuesday. And I'm enjoying that a whole lot. It's very enjoyable. I'm trying to get as close to 100% completion as I can prior to finishing up the main mission. I'm probably not going to end up getting the platinum trophy because I've looked at some of the other trophies, and some of the things you got to do to get them is I don't think I'll be able to accomplish. It's a little too involved. But beyond that, I will be also continuing to play. What was the other thing I was doing last week? I was doing. I don't even remember now. It has completely left my brain. I was doing Spider-Man, and I was Forza Horizon 4. I will probably pop back into that at some point. We'll see. I'm switching up between that, and I might switch up. I might play a different game as well. As much as I like Forza Horizon, it's hard to do. For me, it's hard to do a live stream of it because I feel like I need something to talk about while all that stuff is going on. I can't just simply comment on the game because there's a lot of sort of downtime. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it rolls. We'll see how it goes. There might be some more Forza Horizon 4. There might not be. I might end up using the time playing other things as well. But I'm definitely switching up between Spider-Man and that, just because we're getting close to the end of Spider-Man, and I want to have something else going on as well. So that's it for me, friends. Thanks so much for watching, everybody, or listening on SoundCloud, which still probably remains to be the best way to consume this. And hopefully I will talk to you all next week.